Hello, candle lovers. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Greg, and this is All About Candles. And I have a candle review for you today from Yankee Candle. This is their apple pumpkin. This is my first time sort of trying and finishing one of this sort of tall 20-ounce tumblers, 20 ounces, 2 wicks. I really have grown attached to the large signature jars with the glass lids, but they're being discontinued. And so, I have been kind of snapping up those signature jars whenever I find them now and kind of hoarding them, knowing that they're discontinued and they're not going to be coming back. I'll have a Yankee haul coming up for you shortly one day here. This was my first time really trying out this 20-ounce 2-wick tumbler format, and I have to say that quality of the burn and the fragrance aside, aesthetically these are just not doing it for me. They're just, I don't know, there's just something super cheap about them. The tin lid, they make a big deal about the fact that the lid can double as a base, but that doesn't really sell me any further on it. And then we have, Yankee candles always have beautiful colored wax, and on these tumblers, I'd really rather just see the wax than have these randomly placed sort of cheap, sort of children's booky illustrations sort of randomly placed all over it. It's like a clear wraparound, a really, really noticeable sort of seam right here, and then the randomly placed illustrations. And I think the thing that really cheapens it for me and really just makes me question their attention to detail is the fact that these pictures are repetitive, right? Okay, so there's only 2 or 3 pictures of an apple, but they're just using it multiple times. And same thing with the 2 pictures of a pumpkin. They have 2 pictures of a pumpkin and they just sort of place them all over the place. It's just not a good look. Okay, I'm gonna stop complaining now about the vessel itself, because this was not actually a terrible candle. It's called Apple Pumpkin, and it is, I find, to my nose, fairly similar to Pumpkin Apple from Bath & Body Works. However, Pumpkin Apple from Bath & Body Works is a notoriously bad, terrible performer. Notoriously. And I actually have one from last year, although now that I'm moving the candle, obviously the wicks are coming alive. But I've had this burning now for several hours, and look at how shallow the wax pool kind of is in some places. That's because Pumpkin Apple from Bath & Body Works is just a dud-out candle. I feel like it has always been, and I feel like it always will be. I enjoyed the fragrance, so I've given it several tries. But last year, this version did it again. I'm like, that's it. Let me try Apple Pumpkin from Yankee. And when I originally hauled this candle in my video, I had kind of assumed that Yankee was duping Bath & Body Works' Pumpkin Apple. However, somebody let me know in the comments section, who was that? Summer to Fall let me know in the comments section that Apple Pumpkin was released first. And then a year or 2 later, BBW released their Pumpkin Apple. So this actually came first. And I do think that this is a superior fragrance and the superior burning candle too. I sometimes forget that Yankee Candle used to be kind of the leader in the candle market. You know what I mean? They're the candle brand that I first really experienced and fell in love with. And it always felt like they were leading the pack, so to speak, up until they weren't. And now, as much as it breaks my heart to say, it really feels like Bath & Body Works is doing the best when it comes to candles. when you factor in all things, you know, they're affordable, easily accessible, good fragrances, burn all right. It's disappointing, but I am gonna try and say a couple positive things now about this candle. And one thing I did enjoy about it is the fragrance. If you follow my channel a lot, you've probably realized this fall that I'm not a huge fan of apple fragrances just because certain ones really turn me off. And it's the same with grapefruit. I need apple and grapefruit fragrances to be a very specific sort of amount of sweetness and tartness and balanced with something else for me to really enjoy it. And I like the apple in this apple pumpkin from Yankee. I really do. And it's got quite a bit of scent notes. Oh, and a scent story. You want a dramatic reading? Cultivated with care. Homegrown apples and pumpkins blended with ginger and clove. So the fragrance notes on this are top notes of apple, yellow fruits, orange, fresh greens, and butter. Mid notes, baked pumpkin, red fruit, cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, and fresh ginger. And the base notes are vanilla, caramelized sugar, baked pie crust, cream, and musk. Yankee is just so extra with their fragrance notes. I was just watching Sarita. She just posted a review of Seaside Woods and Dried Lavender and Oak, both fragrances that I really want to try, by the way. Sarita from Coffee and Candles, adore her. And she was saying in her video that she jokes about how like people at Yankee at a Christmas party, they just kind of like get drunk and like toss random names to use as their scent notes for their candles. I don't think that's actually happening. However, these scent notes are so ridiculous. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 scent notes here. And what I am picking up on is apple, a teeny bit of clove, nutmeg, and cinnamon, maybe something a little bit caramely and musky on the bottom. Okay, so apple, obviously, and it's a nice apple note. I do like the apple note in this because it's not super sweet or super tart or acidic. When apple notes get too acidic, that's when I'm really turned off. So it's not that. It's a really nice sort of like round apple scent note. And yeah, I like the apple in this a lot. In fact, I think it might be one of my favorite apple notes that I have smelled so far this fall. Aside from Mahogany Apple by Bath & Body Works. I think that's my favorite apple candle, Mahogany Apple. Anyways, so apple, yeah. Yellow fruits, what, like maybe like banana or something? I don't get that. Orange, I don't get that. Fresh greens, I don't know what that means either. Is that like, I don't know, are they talking like microgreens? Like, is this supposed to be a little bit herbaceous or botanical? Because I'm not getting that. Butter, there is a little bit of a smoothness to this, but I wouldn't say it's like gourmandy necessarily. Baked pumpkin, we've talked about this before. Pumpkin really doesn't have that much of a fragrance to it. It's like pumpkin spices that we always associate with pumpkin. I don't really get any actual pumpkin from this. It's apple and pumpkin spices. Baked pumpkin, red fruit. Red fruit. We need another scent note for the mid-level. How about some red fruit? Yellow fruit. Red fruit and yellow fruit. Yellow fruit on top, red fruit in the mid. What in the gay hell? Okay. Red fruit, maybe that's the apple. Maybe it's a red delicious apple. Cinnamon, I get. Clove, I get. Nutmeg, Fresh ginger, not so much. Like, there is definitely, you know, it's that pumpkin spice kitchen blend of nutmeg, cinnamon. Ginger, though, it's not really a sharp, pronounced ginger. It's a little bit more sort of like a basic pumpkin spice blend than the type of, some really like three-dimensional like spice blends usually have a ton of ginger in them. Kind of reminds me of sugared lemon and spice, which I have a review of that candle up from Bath and Body Works. That's like a very like spicy, gingery candle. I don't get the ginger in this. And then the base notes, vanilla, sure. I feel like you can almost say there's vanilla in anything. Caramelized sugar, no. I don't get like a sweetness or a saccharineness of like a sugary note. Baked pie crust, I'm not getting anything like starchy or carby from this. Cream, perhaps, maybe. Like there is definitely sort of a creamy, musky note on the bottom. But ultimately, you guys, I just did a lot of talking to say that this is an apple and spice candle, and it's nice. It's quite well balanced. It's very mid-range, and I don't dislike it. The performance was all right. Like I said, it's my first time with one of these formatted tumblers. It wasn't great. I mean, we needed way more strength and throw, but it burned quite cleanly. As you can see, there was like really no soot at all, just some like wax residue. It extinguished itself. One of the wicks obviously said good night before the other one did. And so it was a nice clean burn from top to bottom. It didn't take that long to pull out. However, it did spend most of its time in a hurricane, just so that I could try to get a little bit more strength and throw out of it. I'm not even too sure how long it would have taken to pull out had it not been in a hurricane. But in a hurricane, it was a pretty acceptable period of time, like an hour tops. And I mean, I guess the strength and throw in my more open area was very lost, but I didn't try it in a hurricane in my more open area. So if you've just got this sitting in, a bigger open living area on your coffee table, just on its own with the tin lid as a base, if it's just sitting around like this, you're getting like maybe a 4 for strength and throw out of it. Like I definitely caught whiffs of it. And so, what you kind of have to do is just figure out how this candle is going to work for you. And what I settled on doing was keeping it in a hurricane in my bedroom and letting it burn for quite long periods of time. So when it was in a hurricane in a medium to slightly larger space, the good burns where I had big, deep wax pools on it, it maybe touched like a 6. Perhaps. And so I found it acceptable in there for the most part. I don't mind a 6 in the bedroom. I don't mind a 6 in the bedroom, but I would prefer a nice solid 8. I would always prefer at least an 8 if I can have my way. And this was really maybe a 6. I'd say on average a 5.5, and that is with me adjusting the size of the space and putting it into a hurricane. And so ultimately this is just not a repurchase for me or a recommendation, despite how much I really enjoy the fragrance. And I mean, Sarita went off about this in her video that I watched yesterday. She went off about dried lavender and oak and was it Seaside Woods? Like, why create such a beautiful fragrance and put it in such a beautiful colored wax only for it not to be scented enough to appreciate? Like, why? I mean, Yankee, it just kind of is what it is at this point, and I just keep coming back for more. Every now and then I have hit something great. Like this summer I loved Lakefront Lodge and Catching Rays, so I still come across Yankee candles that I think perform acceptably and that I enjoy. But I mean, oh gosh, it's getting few and far between, and that is really just why you don't see that many Yankee reviews on my channel. I maybe only go through 1 or 2 Yankee candles a month now, and there was a time where it was the brand that I was buying the most. but it's just, the company is unrecognizable now. You know, it's just unrecognizable, and it kind of breaks my heart. But this wasn't a horrible candle, but not a repurchase for me, and not a recommendation for you. However, I also don't recommend this. You can kind of see that the wicks it's looking a little bit more duddy now. I mean, this is just how Pumpkin Apple from Bath and Body Works has always performed, and everybody's just always been okay with it. I don't get it. We need someone to go back to the drawing board for us on Apple Pumpkin and Pumpkin Apple. I'm burning a Homeworks candle right now that I really like, Fall Farm Stand. It's not really like a pumpkin apple spicy candle, but it's kind of in this vein, and I'm actually really enjoying it. And it's performing better than either of these pumpkin apple candles are, so, well, whatever, who cares? There's that. Thank you so much for joining me today, folks. I really appreciate it. I love you for watching today. You can follow me on Instagram at allabootcandles. Email me your burning questions at allabootcandles@gmail.com. If you could like this video, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, my gorgeous candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, folks. Bye now.